Welcome to the Insider's Insight podcast, where we share with you the thoughts of the individuals who are working for projects that are changing the world. Thank you to our sponsor, Creditcoin, the building blocks of trust. For more details, please visit the show notes below. Welcome to Insider's Insight. Today, I have a very special guest. I have Pat, who is one of the founders of PolyDoge. And today, we're going to talk about how he is navigating the crypto markets in 2022. But before we begin that conversation, Pat, why don't you tell our audience a bit about your crypto journey? How did you get into crypto? And then maybe you can also shed light on how you started PolyDoge. What was the motivation? And maybe just give a brief introduction to where PolyDoge will be heading in the future.
Perfect. First of all, I really want to thank you for having me on this podcast. I'm really happy to be on. And thank you for the very lovely intro. So I'm Pat, short for Patrick. I founded PolyDoge, but maybe I can talk a little bit more about how I got into crypto first. So it was around 2016. So I was early, but not very early, not the 2012 thing. But I've heard about Bitcoin, first of all. There was a lot of chatters on forums. They were very popular before Reddit. So I got curious, I looked at it. Saw that was going up, starting to go up at this moment. So I got in. I got into Bitcoin first on Coinbase. Was recently opened. Then I got interested into things like Litecoin slowly, then more alts, Ethereum. I got into Ethereum as well. Then 2017 happened, and I was like, what is going on? This is going up really hard. And so it piqued my curiosity a little bit. So I started getting into investments in altcoins. I went through that cycle when every new beginner comes into, he gets into a lot of altcoins. I think I bought Omisego, Neo, and they went up so hard. I couldn't believe my eyes, and I kind of really changed my life. And then the bear market happened, and this is when I really started to get interested in more of the technical stuff and getting to understand how the markets really work behind the scenes. So I really loved cryptocurrencies, and yeah, tell me.
Did you hold throughout the bear markets, or did you manage to cash out?
I never cashed out. I held, but I sold into Bitcoin, so I had a lot. I managed to make some gains, actually.
Oh, okay.
I held some, of course. I held a lot of losing positions, like Polygon Chain. Yeah, well, Polygon Chain wasn't doing very good. I still hold it to this day, I guess. I made a lot of mistakes, of course. Every beginner makes mistakes. I've held Bitcoin, though. So I saw my portfolio go up really high, then go down low. But I held it because I knew there was something interesting. There was something magical about it, and it was obviously a bubble. But to me, the bubble wasn't over because the valuations weren't there to compare with the .com bubbles. And it was a very interesting technology, and there is a need for it, especially when things happen in the traditional finance, like in countries like Venezuela or Lebanon, where people really needed something like cryptocurrencies to save them from corrupted banking systems. So yeah, I believed in the vision of it.
So you didn't feel the pain when it came out?
Of course. Everybody felt the pain. It was hard. But I knew like I had holding something special, so I needed to hold and see what will happen. And obviously I did the right choice because we know now that it's taking a lot of mainstream interest. And I'm not sure it's over yet. But of course, there was a painful dump. 2018 wasn't easy.
So 2018 comes along and you're obviously holding your previous position. Did you then just continue, and you said that you were researching more about the technology and have a greater understanding of how blockchain works. Did you continue DCAing throughout 2018, 2019? And what were you buying at that time?
Well, I haven't DCAed that much because I think like everyone, I was afraid, when this was my first bear market, so I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that I shouldn't be selling because I had already lost a lot of positions. But I was interested in different positions. And mostly in layer one. This was something I was very interested in. Back then, it was Bitcoin the problem. Like when you were sending transaction, it took like 1 hour and $60 a transaction. That was a lot. That was the main focus. And we knew Ethereum wasn't going to scale. So scalability was an attractive point of view back then. So I researched a lot of projects. I got into a lot of projects. Some of them won, some of them lost. I got into, for instance, I can shamefully say I got into something HPB, which completely failed. And I got into Matic, which succeeded. I got into not Solana. It wasn't around Solana, but I think if I'm not mistaken, I got into Omisego. That failed. I got into Tezos. I guess it wasn't out until later. I was very interested in that narrative. Polkadot was something also as well that was very interesting to me. They were already talking about it, but it wasn't out until like 2020. Yeah, so that was my main investment thesis going into 2021, 2022.
When the 2020 bull market started to run, you were in a very solid position to cash out, or did you still just continue buying?
No, back then the 2020 was started by the DeFi stuff. The Uniswap came out of nowhere and people were like buying stuff randomly right and left on Uniswap. I'm like, what is that? Because I wasn't really a decentralized kind of guy. I was more into like trading on centralized exchanges. Then I discovered the power of Uniswap, and this is where DeFi was very interesting. I got into RSR. That was interesting. That made me a lot of gains. I got into Chainlink quite early. That was as well a winning point. I played a lot of altcoin roulettes as well on Uniswap. Some of them did good. Some of them went to zero. But no, I wasn't in that comfortable position to cash out. But 2020 really pushed me to the next level of my portfolio, and this is where it started to get really interesting. So I have not cashed out in 2020. But
what did you do in the latter end of 2020 that made it so interesting?
So when the DeFi boom happened, and I made a lot of multipliers, insane multipliers actually on RSR and Link, I started to get. Now I had big capital in my hand, so needed to get into high liquidity stuff. So I bought some stuff that I thought that could interest into institutions, because institutions were coming in. Like we were hearing rumors about Michael Saylor was starting to buy again 2020, late 2020, 2021, so I got into stuff like that really dumped from the BTC SAT ratio, like basic attention token. I bought Kyber Network. I bought Swipe. Yeah, I got Swipe at like $0.07, $0.08. I got a lot of stuff, but basically from a pure trading perspective, it wasn't really fundamental. I knew that the bull run was coming. I knew that you can just buy anything and get away with it. And I wasn't looking for that 100x because I already had big capital. I just wanted like 2x, 3x, 5x, that would have been sufficient for me. And luckily it happened with the basic attention token Swipe. I made a lot of money on that. Kyber, I'm starting to make money now because the SAT ratio is starting to come back up, and this is basically it. That was my plan.
How do you size your positions when you make these trades? Do you put in a lot of money, or are you only putting a certain portion of your money? Do you use technical analysis? What exactly is your investment methodology?
Yeah, no, technical analysis is something that I don't really use that much. I know a lot of people swear by it. I'm more of a macro trading kind of guy. Like I try to get in on something that has a historical relevance. I really base my buys on the BTC ratio. So if I see like it's really low on the ratio, the Satoshi ratio, I try to get in, if it's oversold. I also believe in the altcoin comparison theory, which means like if you look at 3 projects in particular, Tezos, Omisego, and Kyber Network, if you look at the chart, it basically looks the same, but in delay. So like Tezos had its first big pump, dumped, then it pumped around 2021, dumped, then it had a bigger pump in Satoshi ratio. Same thing for Omisego, but that happened like 2 weeks later. Kyber Network is doing the same thing now, so I believe in those similarities. I believe traders, there's like a group of traders, they jump from coin to another, and they profit off of that, and I like to try to anticipate that and base my buys where like nobody's buying. Recently I bought Litecoin. Who would buy Litecoin now? Doesn't make sense, but I have a feeling it could move anytime soon, Yeah, so there's no technical analysis, fundamental analysis, not much. The bare minimum, of course, because I'm not going to get into something that could risk exit scamming the next day. I need to have something solid in case something goes wrong, and I know that I'm investing in something that there's some active development in it.
What about position sizing?
Yeah, position sizing, of course. I like to go big. If there's liquidity, of course, it's really based on liquidity. Like if I have a big position, I need to know that I can exit anytime I want without losing more than 2 or 3%. If it's like a low liquidity kind of thing, I would put like maximum $10,000 in low alt caps. I do have a lot, but I wouldn't put more than $10,000 in them, because like when you go big, you can't sell them.
Of course. So I guess you'll probably be making many $10,000 bets essentially.
Yeah. On low caps, of course. On higher caps, I like to go go really big.
Are we talking about 50% of your portfolio or 20%?
Depends on I like to be in altcoins mostly. In Bitcoin, you don't really make that much money. Though I do have a lot of Bitcoins now. I believe now is the time to have some. But basically when there's like a bull run, when alts are running, I like to be in alts. This is where you make multipliers. It's pointless to be in Bitcoin.
Do you ever consider it as a percentage of your portfolio, or you always think of your bet in terms of like dollar size?
No, I don't really care about it. Of course, everybody cares about the dollars when you want to cash out. But when you're in an investment, I really like to accumulate Bitcoins, because if I know that Bitcoin hasn't done running up, I'd like to have the max Bitcoins. So this is what I really care about. Like for instance, Kyber, when Bitcoin was dumping, Kyber was going up in Bitcoin. I was so happy. Even though the dollar was stable, in my mind, I was like making money.
Oh, okay, I get you. So you're just accumulating Bitcoin. That's your aim. So you always have a hodl pile of Bitcoin. You're never going to cash out that hodl pile of Bitcoin.
Well, no. I think it's not over yet. I think institutions are definitely interested in Bitcoin. And if they want to go in, they're going to get into Bitcoin first. Like everyone, when you talk about crypto, the first thing they get into is Bitcoin, and it's not altcoins.
Yeah, I've been struggling with this actually, because I have this idea of I have my hodl portfolio and then I have my trading portfolio. But after speaking to a number of investors and traders who have done this for a lot longer than I have, maybe that isn't the right way to think about it. Maybe everything should be able to be sold and to be able to be bought. You should swing trade everything essentially. But I'm not sure if that's wise. I feel that if you do it, it's not difficult to do it well, but I guess you just don't want to miss that time when you sold, for example, your Bitcoin too early, and maybe you never get the chance to buy it back cheaper. But I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to do this, because with my personal portfolio, if I had swung trade it, I would have a lot more than I do now. But I've always been hodling, so I don't know if that's, I'm not sure what's the best way to do it.
Well, here's the simple answer. There is no best way to do it, in my opinion. Everyone has his own strategy. And sometimes trading is bad. Sometimes like you're trading something, you're happy, you made 2x, and then you see something shoot up like 100x. I'll give you an example. I was holding Rarible, Rari, I bought it at $2. Okay. I had a big position in it. I was like, yeah, NFTs are the next big thing. But like everyone, you can get sucked into like this narrative where everyone is negative, it could affect you sometimes. So when it went to $4, I sold at 2x. I was like happy, yeah. Except what happened later, it went to $50. So I lost a lot of amount of gains because I done that, So maybe sometimes it's very good to hold. Like imagine if you bought Bitcoin at 2011, would you hold? Would you hold it or would you sell it?
I would love to think that I would hold it, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. I think about this. I'm like, I might have sold, and that would have been worse, because like when something goes up 1,000x, you're gonna sell because you say like it's not gonna go up much more, except it did. That's so I don't know. I believe in the hodl positions. I don't do them, but I'm still learning. Like I made mistakes in 2017. I didn't take profits. This time I took profits. I DCA'd my way up to the top. So I've done something correctly, but maybe I've made a lot of mistakes as well this time, which hopefully next time I will correct. Maybe I will hold this time. So yeah, I'm not sure there's a good strategy.
Are you saying you would even sell your Bitcoin if the price was right?
Yeah. Well, not sell everything, but I think the DCA strategy is not bad. Like if you made a lot of gains, okay, there's no harm in taking profit. Take out some, cash out some, have some fun in life, enjoy them. I think this is the mistake that most of us do early on, which something I didn't do in 2017 because I made a lot of money. Then I held dumbly because I thought it was gonna keep on going up, but nothing goes up forever unless you have a really long time frame.
What price would you sell your Bitcoin at?
Conservatively speaking, I kind of estimate like if it's going to be a .com bubble, I would like to see the market hit up like $5 trillion, $6 trillion. This is a conservative estimate. So that would put Bitcoin around 150,000, maybe 200,000. I don't believe in like going overboard. I'm not sure the financial market would collapse like most libertarians believe. And so I really believe the government's gonna have like will control things, eventually, like always. So yeah, $5 to $6 trillion. That's a conservative estimate for me. It would seem logical.
What time frame? We're talking about this year, early next year?
I don't know. I would be lying to you if I said I know. I do have a feeling it could be this year. I'm not sure we are in a bear market. It doesn't look like a bear market to me. I have I'm just basing it on some altcoins that the ratio is already too low. I can't see them going lower. I see some positive sentiments. I see a lot of FUD and negative views right now worldwide, like the Ukraine and Russian war. I do see the COVID ending. I do see a period of transition where things are going to turn out positive again to maybe have an exit pump for all markets in end 2022, 2023. This is my feeling. I'm not sure if that's going to play out like this, but I have nothing to lose anyways. I've already cashed out some. I'm holding now just for the what if.
So basically your plan will be to hopefully cash out everything by the end of 22. Not everything, but almost everything, and then repeat the cycle again. Start DCAing around the bear market, trying to get more gains. So you believe one more cycle is coming, essentially?
I do, yes, I do. No, I believe the final bubble will burst. The next one will be the final bubble. That's my opinion. And then this was just going to be like traditional markets, like you're going to get into legit projects that are really working well, with good fundamental users, a lot of users, this is going to be important. So I do believe in sort of like what happened in the .com,
Yeah, I think you may have a good point. I think perhaps we've got one more cycle to go. It's difficult to know how it will all play out because I'm assuming that the next cycle, if there is a next cycle, it's not going to be as volatile as this one. And I guess now is the time to learn, right? Because a lot of new investors, maybe they have some gains, but they haven't made life-changing gains. And perhaps after this cycle, they may not have life-changing gains, but if they learn enough, they'll have one more chance to make all of those gains in the second cycle. And then after the second cycle, then it's basically going to be too difficult to do so.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. It's very important. It's very, very, very important to learn and be humble. A lot of new people aren't humble. They're not modest enough. Like they say, oh, I put in $1,000. I made $100,000. I'm invincible. I'm not so sure. Well, watch out. Learn. Everybody makes mistakes. Some things in crypto pump not for the right reasons. You need to be aware of that. You need to be very careful about what you choose in your portfolio. You need to learn that you will need to think about the future. Will there be use cases in the future? Will there be a need for it? Questions like that are very important. And sometimes you pick a important project that has a good use case and it doesn't work because the team doesn't have the capacity to pull it off. There's a lot of examples. Not everyone's going to be a winner, unfortunately. But it's very important to do a lot of research and a lot of digging. And when something goes wrong, just learn how to manage your positions and get out. It's fine. Mistakes happen. That's my advice to new people.
But I do think after a certain point, you do want to be hodling for the whole time. What I mean by this is if you were in, say, 2010 and you bought, say, Apple, Google, Amazon, all of the big tech names, there wouldn't be at any point a good time to sell because the prices just constantly went up. And I can say this for a fact that after a certain period of time, these cryptos, the ones that do survive, and I personally believe Bitcoin will survive, Ethereum will survive. At a certain point, they're just going to act like a Apple or a Microsoft or Google or an Amazon. They're just going to keep on going up. They're never going to not go up in price. Do you agree with this?
I agree because of inflation, of course. You have inflation. You have to take that into consideration. But then again, you need to also, it depends on your position. Like if you want to stay in Bitcoin, you need to have a good position to make any money. You can't put $1,000 in Bitcoin and hope like you're going to end up a millionaire. That's not going to happen. Because it's already highly valued and very liquid. So it needs a lot of money to move it. So if you're like it depends on what your position is. Like what do you want? Do you want a 2x? Do you want a 10x? Do you want a 100x? Each has different risk to reward ratio and different strategies. I would if people really want to make money, now is the time to think of projects that are highly undervalued, low caps, put in just a small amount, into things you think that are promising and diversify. A lot of them are going to fail, but the one that's going to win is going to make you like 100x or 1000x. That's what I would do if I had small position.
Say you had $20,000 to invest and you're looking for the 100xer. How much would you put in each position? So how many positions would you find? How much in each position? And maybe you can give 2 or 3 examples of altcoins that you think look interesting. And of course, this is not investment advice.
Of course, yes. This is a very hard question because we're always on the lookout for things. I like to look at narrative. alternatives. What could possibly the market need right now, in your opinion? In my opinion, I think it needs, for instance, let's look at DeFi. The one problem with DeFi is that you have to set up a MetaMask, right? Or something like a trust wallet. Then you have to learn so the learning curve isn't that easy. So it's not very user-friendly. So you need something with a user-friendly interface. Then suppose like you have multi-chain world now. You have Phantom, you have Matic, you have Ethereum, you have Polkadot, Atom, you have a lot of chains now. And you have coins. Sometimes you're interested in some coins. You have to hop from a network to another. What I'm really interested in is a solution that would allow you to just click on one button, swap from Ethereum to Phantom coin. I don't want to go through a bridge, I don't want to hassle my time, like send funds to a bridge, wait an hour, This is very hard from a technical point of view, I know, but this is something that projects are able to do. The multi-chain future, smooth experience, that is something I would be happy to invest in. There's a coin called Sift Chain, which is sort of like a Rune fork. Rune is very interesting to me, but I think Rune is already highly valued. But I think if Sift Chain can pull something like this, they are working on something like that, that could be very interesting. What else? I think regulations are coming, so it would be interesting to see what forms of identification on chain could be interesting. Maybe Everest ID, I'm not sure. Maybe something with NFTs, like a passport or something, not sure neither. I have to look into it. What else? Metaverse is something that's very popular now. I think the hype's going to die off a little bit, but it is very plausible use case for the future. So I would look into invest in those fields. I know a lot of companies that are starting to get into the metaverse in the real world. So there is something to profit off of that. As of which project, I'm not sure. I haven't looked deep into it. What else? Layer 2s. Layer 2s are important. This is why I'm into Kyber, but Kyber is already like a mid-cap, so I'm not sure that's going to bring 100x, but maybe like 3x or 4x. Layer 2s can be very interesting. We'll see what ZK Sync. I think they're going to do a token soon. I'll see the valuation, maybe get into that. DYDX is interesting because it offers a layer 2 solution as well. We'll see. It really depends. Sometimes you anticipate the narrative and it doesn't happen. Recently invested in also DeFi NFT kind of stuff. Like there's a project I'm interested in. It's called Gen Art. Not sure if you've heard about it, but looks interesting because it has a lot of good backings. It's very low valued. To be honest, I haven't looked that much into the markets yet. I have to relook when things calm down a little bit.
Pat, before we end this conversation, I just wanted to ask you a few questions about PolyDoge. I know you've basically spoken about PolyDoge in a number of podcasts, but maybe you haven't hit this point, which is when you started PolyDoge, how did you manage to begin a project like this? I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are listening to this podcast and they would like to know what went through your mind while starting PolyDoge and how did you know that it could have been as successful as it was?
To be fair, I'm going to be very honest with you. I didn't know it was going to be this successful. Like in my mind, when we started it, we weren't even in the optics of making a project. We were just testing Polygon. It just happened, and we were like 8 founders or so, which 3 left. 3 stayed. The rest all left very early because there wasn't a plan to do a project, but Polygon was very popular. It was starting to bloom, grow, and we saw an opportunity to seize. So me and Danny really, and a guy called Big Baller, we worked really hard on it. And because we saw the opportunity, we were like, there's something to do because it started with like 100, 150 community members. So that was already something, we had a base to start with. And we were like, why not? This is something I haven't told anyone, but PolyDoge is inspired by a project me and Danny were in and it failed. It's called Polygon Games. So we like the idea of holding something and getting something in return for it, like NFTs, airdrops. So this is how it started first. Then of course it evolved as time went through. So we grew our team. We recruited a lot of people from our own community. And it became something else slowly. Now it became the community project. It became really big, started growing up because we never gave up. People saw that. When the mini bear happened, we had a lot of projects on Polygon that just vanished because the price went down. So founders weren't interested because most of them are in it to make a lot of money, and they weren't in for the success of a project. This wasn't our goal. Our goal was to really make something successful, grow a community, a very strong community. There's a pride in it as well, that aspect of pride really helps because today I'm very proud of what we accomplished. Like if you look now, PolyDoge is almost everywhere on Polygon. If you're into the Polygon ecosystem, you've probably heard about us, and this is something that's very important. People often overlook, and it's important to really work hard. Started from April till December. Every day it was PolyDoge. Wake up, make coffee, open Telegram, look at things. PolyDoge, go eat. PolyDoge, sleep, wake up, same thing. So there was a lot of personal sacrifice that went into it, but it paid off eventually. And now it's self-governed. I think I wasn't active in January because I had real life problems, but it's working well because we have a great team now. We have a great community. We have great community projects coming, including Metapets. Metapets is run by Jordan Charters. He's part on the team, yes, but it's definitely it's built from community members as well that's working on it, which is a very, very interesting project coming.
So I have just 2 more questions on this. The first question is, what motivated you to be such a big part of the original community that the PolyDoge founders came out of? It sounds like your background is in investing when it comes to crypto. So it's quite interesting that you decided to be more active in a community, and maybe some of your words can help inspire others to find good communities to be part of if they've never been part of one before.
A good community is everything. That's what we learn as investors. There's a lot of founders that come in, they say they want to make a project, but they have no idea what the investors want. It's very important to be there for them. On Telegram, whenever we're always there. From the beginning to the start, we're talking to we're assuring them, we're telling them it's gonna be fine. We're working on things. This is what investors want. They want to feel connected. They want to feel part of something. They want to feel part like they are PolyDoge. This is very important. It's not just us, it's the community as well. And they have understood that. Like, look on Twitter, like they knew that they're part of something, which they are. Right now, of course, technically speaking, it's going to get a lot better as well with Metapets coming. But yeah, it's very important to be an inspiration to them and show them that they're part of something. Now my motivations were definitely like personal motivations. I really wanted to know how the scene happened in the background, because this is something that I lacked as an investor. So I wanted to get into that project side and know how things happen in the background. Like, how do projects get on exchanges? How do projects handle marketing? How do projects do a lot of things? These are questions that I was curious about, and I managed to get a lot of information running PolyDoge.
Final question. What do you think is the next wave for crypto? You've spoken about your narratives that you're looking out for. If we're looking at maybe something to blow up like NFTs did recently, the GameFi phenomenon, what do you think is going to be the next wave coming to the end of 2022?
I think GameFi is great, but it's great, but if you look at the games right now, none of them are fun. We need a really, really, really big game like Dota 2 or Counter-Strike to do something with crypto. That would be huge. I think NFTs are not done, but it's not the JPEGs kind of NFTs. Like, of course, their art is valuable. I'm not saying otherwise. I know some people really like to buy art in real life, but I think NFTs have use cases that haven't been touched upon. For instance, the identification part. I can definitely see, for instance, online passports or something like that with NFTs use cases. We'd like to tap into that. I don't know, but I also think layer 2s are going to be very important. Layer 2s haven't I don't know why they don't have importance now, but I think at some point, because they're going to scale Ethereum really high, and people are just going to flock back into Ethereum.
Oh, perfect, Pat. Before we finish, do you have any socials you'd like to promote? Any websites?
Yeah, you can visit us on polydoge.com. You have all the information if you want to look into our project. Follow me on Twitter, Pat McPat. If you want some personal insights, I talk a lot about my own investments from time to time. I'm definitely into Kyber right now because I think they're doing a lot of things. Yeah, that's about it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You can get in touch with me on Telegram anytime you want as well. I'm always active there.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast. All of those information will be in the show notes below. We'll see you all next episode. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The Inside is Insight podcast is meant for informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial or investment advice. Nothing expressed in this podcast should be construed as a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer to buy or sell any financial products. Information expressed by the host or guest of this podcast does not necessarily reflect any views of our sponsors.